After 60, these 5 snacks take the load off your kidneys. What your 12-minute appointment never had time to explain. Your doctor has probably never sat you down and told you which snacks your kidneys need after 60. I want to tell you why. Because the reason says everything about how modern medicine works today, and once you understand it, you will never look at your lab results the same way again. It is not that your doctor does not care. Most of them care deeply. The problem is time. The average visit with your primary physician in this country lasts about 12 minutes. In those 12 minutes, your doctor has to greet you, review your history, check your vital signs, listen to your heart and your lungs, look at your latest blood work, discuss whatever is bothering you that day, refill your prescriptions, order the next round of tests, and enter every single one of those steps into the computer for billing. There is a billing code for writing the prescription. There is a billing code for ordering the lab work. There is a billing code for adjusting the dose of your blood pressure pill, but there is no billing code for 10 quiet minutes of teaching you what to keep in your refrigerator so your kidneys have to work a little less every day of the week. So that conversation gets cut every single time, not because it does not matter, but because the system was not built to pay for it. That is why I am here tonight, to use these next 30 minutes on the exact conversation your 12-minute appointment never has time to hold. I am going to walk you through 5 snacks that are common, affordable, and already sitting on the shelves of your local grocery store, and I'm going to explain, in language a mechanic or a farmer or a school teacher can follow, exactly why each one takes some of the load off the tiny filters inside your kidneys. I am going to show you how to prepare each one, because the preparation matters just as much as the food itself, and I am going to warn you about the small silent mistakes that careful, well-meaning people make every single week with these exact foods. Mistakes that quietly turn a friend of the kidney into an enemy. At least half of what I'm about to tell you, I would bet you have never heard from anyone. Before we go one more step, I owe you a promise and I owe you a warning, and they are the same thing said 2 different ways. I'm not going to tell you that these 5 snacks cure kidney disease. I am not going to tell you they reverse years of damage to filters that have been slowly wearing down since long before you noticed anything wrong. That would be a lie, and if I said it, you would be right to close this video and never come back. What I am going to tell you is quieter and more honest. The right food, prepared the right way, changes how much work your kidneys have to do. And a kidney that has less work to do is a kidney that lasts longer. And a kidney that lasts longer is more nights in your own bed, more mornings with your grandchildren, more years before anyone at the hospital ever whispers the word dialysis to you. Every single thing I am going to say tonight lines up with what the National Institute of Diabetes and Digestive and Kidney Diseases publishes on their own website. It lines up with what the Mayo Clinic teaches its own kidney patients. It lines up with what the Cleveland Clinic and the National Kidney Foundation put in their patient education booklets. I am not inventing anything. I am translating what is already written for doctors into what should have been written for you. Who is this video for? It is for the man or the woman who walked out of the doctor's office last month with a piece of paper that said the creatinine was 1.2 or 1.5 or 1.7, and no one really explained what that number meant. It is for the person who is already told they have stage 3 kidney disease, or stage 4, and who is waking up 2, 3, 4 times a night to walk to the bathroom, and who has quietly started to wonder how many years they have left before things get harder. It is for the husband whose wife is worried about him and does not know what to cook anymore. It is for the woman who has stopped inviting the family over on Sundays because she does not know which food is safe on the table. If any of that is you, sit back and stay with me because the next 30 minutes were made for you. Let me spend 90 seconds telling you what creatinine actually is, because most people who have that number circled on their lab report have never once had it explained. Creatinine is a waste product. Every time one of your muscles moves, from your heart beating to your fingers turning the page of a book, the muscle burns a small amount of a substance called creatine to make energy. When creatine burns, it leaves behind creatinine as leftover. Your bloodstream carries that leftover to your kidneys, and your kidneys strain it out and send it into your urine. That is why the doctor measures the level in your blood. If your kidneys are working well, the level stays low because they are cleaning it out as fast as your muscles are making it. If your kidneys are struggling, the level rises in your blood because the waste is not being carried away as quickly as it should. Inside each of your kidneys are about 1 million tiny filters called nephrons. That is a lot of filters, and it is one of the reasons you can live a full life with only one kidney if you have to, but those filters are delicate. Decades of high blood pressure squeeze them, decades of high blood sugar scratch them, cigarettes, certain painkillers taken for too long, dehydration repeated over years, all of it slowly wears down the nephrons. Once a nephron is gone, it does not grow back, so by the time you are 65 or 70, you may have lost 20%, 30%, 40% of them without ever feeling a single symptom. That is why kidney disease is called the silent disease. You feel fine until you do not. not, and now I want to give you the shift in thinking that changes everything about how you read your own lab reports. The creatinine number in your blood is telling you two things at the same time, not one. It is telling you how much damage has already happened to those filters, but it is also telling you how much waste your kidneys are being asked to handle right now, today, this week. The first part you cannot change. The past is the past. But the second part, the daily load, that part has your fingerprints on it 3 times a day, every single time you sit down at a table, and every single one of these 5 snacks I am about to teach you is designed to attack one of those two things. They either lower how much waste the kidney has to filter, or they calm the inflammation that keeps scratching the filters that are still working. That is the whole secret. Once you see it that way, every snack makes sense on its own. Now let us begin with the first one. And let me get ahead of your very first objection before you even say it out loud in your own living room. When I tell you the first snack is red grapes with the skin, you're going to say, "Doctor, grapes have sugar in them, and my doctor told me to watch my sugar." You're right to think that. But stay with me for a minute, because what red grapes give your kidneys is worth far more than the small amount of sugar they bring with them. Red grapes carry 3 plant compounds that quietly work on your kidneys from the inside. The first is called resveratrol, and you have probably heard the name because of the old talk about red wine and the French heart. Please do not take that as permission to pour a glass of Cabernet tonight. Alcohol is one of the very last things a tired kidney needs, and the small benefit of any wine is drowned out by the burden alcohol places on your filters. You want the resveratrol from the fruit, not the bottle. The second compound is called quercetin, which is a natural anti-inflammatory that studies at the National Institute of Health have connected to healthier blood vessel walls. The third is a family of purple pigments called anthocyanins, and these are the exact substances that give a red grape its deep color and that quietly protect the endothelium, which is the thin lining on the inside of every artery and every capillary in your body, including the ones that feed your kidneys. And here's the number that surprises people. Red grapes are actually quite low in potassium for a fruit. Half a cup of red grapes, which is about 15 to 20 individual grapes, carries only around 88 milligrams of potassium. Compare that to a medium banana, which carries more than 400 milligrams, or a medium orange, which is over 200. That is why so many kidney nutrition programs at the Cleveland Clinic and the Mayo Clinic keep red grapes on the friendly list when so many other fruits get crossed off. Here's how you eat them for the most benefit. Take half a cup, 15 to 20 grapes, in the mid-afternoon between your lunch and your dinner. That is the window when most people over 60 reach for a cookie or a handful of chips out of pure habit, and that swap alone changes what your kidneys are asked to filter for the rest of the day. Here's the little trick that not 1 in 100 people knows. Eat those grapes with a small companion of protein or healthy fat, a few unsalted walnuts, or a small piece of hard cheese if your doctor has said cheese is allowed for you, or a spoonful of plain yogurt. That combination slows down how fast the natural fruit sugar enters your bloodstream, which keeps your blood sugar steadier, and which, for a person with diabetic kidney disease, matters enormously. Now, the 2 mistakes I see people make with grapes, and I want you to write these down in your head. First mistake: do not switch to grape juice thinking you are getting the same benefit. Juice strips out the fiber, which is the part that slows the sugar, and it concentrates the sugar until a small glass hits your blood like a candy bar. The kidneys hate that spike. Second mistake, and this one traps a lot of very careful eaters: do not switch to raisins thinking they are the same as grapes. Raisins are dried grapes, and drying concentrates the potassium. A quarter cup of raisins carries about 750 milligrams of potassium, which is nearly 10 times what fresh grapes give you. For most kidney patients, that is dangerous territory, and it takes what was a friend and turns it into a serious enemy overnight. Fresh grapes, half a cup, with the skin, in the afternoon. That is snack number 1. Snack number 2 is the humble egg white. And to understand why the egg white is one of the most important foods you can keep in your refrigerator after 60, I have to explain the trap that catches almost every kidney patient when it comes to protein. Here's the trap. Protein is a puzzle for a struggling kidney. Too much protein raises urea, which is another waste product your kidneys have to strain out, so you are told to cut back. But if you cut back too far, another problem shows up, one that most kidney patients never hear about in the 12-minute visit. It is called sarcopenia, and it is the medical word for the loss of muscle mass that quietly accelerates after the age of 60. Sarcopenia is what turns a strong 70-year-old into a fragile 75-year-old. And what turns a fragile 75-year-old into a fall in the bathroom that leads to a hip fracture that leads to a hospital stay? Muscle keeps keeps you standing. Muscle keeps you living in your own home. Muscle is not a luxury after 60. Muscle is survival, and now here is the cruel twist. When you lose muscle from sarcopenia, your creatinine number on the lab report can actually look better, even though you're getting more frail, not less. Because remember, creatinine comes from muscle-burning creatine. Less muscle, less creatinine produced, and the lab report can fool everyone. That is why the smart move is not to cut protein into nothing. The smart move is to choose the highest quality protein you can find, the kind that leaves behind almost no leftover for the kidneys to clean up. That is exactly what the egg white gives you. The protein in an egg white is called albumin, and human nutrition scientists rank it as one of the highest biological value proteins on Earth. That means your body uses almost all of it to rebuild muscle and to repair tissue, and only a very small fraction has to be discarded as waste. And here's the second gift of the egg white that most people do not know. Almost all of the phosphorus in an egg is in the yolk, not in the white. Phosphorus is one of the minerals that struggling kidneys cannot get rid of easily, and high phosphorus over the long run pulls calcium out of your bones and stiffens your arteries. So when you eat the egg white and leave the yolk out, you're getting premium protein without the phosphorus load. That is not something you find in many foods. Here is how I want you to prepare it. 2 or 3 egg whites, gently scrambled in a small amount of olive oil, no salt, seasoned with fresh parsley or fresh chives from a little pot on your windowsill, or hard boil the eggs and simply take the yolks out and eat the whites. Very simple, very calm, very kind to your kidneys. If you find that inconvenient, you can buy pasteurized egg whites in a carton at the grocery store, which is fine, but I want you to read the label with your reading glasses on. Look for less than 100 milligrams of sodium per serving, because some brands add salt and some do not, and after 60, every extra 100 milligrams of sodium is another small burden your kidneys have to carry. The mistake I see people make with egg whites is under-eating them. A person will eat one lonely egg white and think that counts as their protein for the morning. It does not. Your body needs about 10 to 15 grams of high-quality protein in one sitting to actually build muscle, and one egg white only gives you 3 to 4 grams, so you are looking at 3 or 4 egg whites per sitting to hit that target, which is very inexpensive and very fast to prepare. One more honest word before we move on. If your nephrologist has already told you that you are in advanced stage 4 or stage 5 kidney disease, your protein allowance has been personalized just for you, and you may be told to eat less protein overall, not more. In that case, please do not change your intake based on this video. Take this idea to your kidney doctor and let them tell you exactly how many grams of protein per day are right for your specific numbers. That conversation is worth every minute you spend in it. Now we come to snack number 3, and this is the one that is going to make some people watching this video say, wait a minute, that cannot be right, because I am going to tell you that the very food that nearly every kidney diet handout tells you to cross off, I am going to tell you how to put it back on the list. I am talking about the potato. Everyone knows why the potato is on the forbidden list. Potatoes are high in potassium. A medium baked potato with the skin can carry more than 900 milligrams of potassium, and for a person whose kidneys cannot clear potassium easily, that much in one sitting can cause dangerous heart rhythm problems. That is real, and I am not going to pretend otherwise. But there is a characteristic of potassium that almost no one teaches the patient, and it changes everything. Potassium is what chemists call water soluble. That means potassium can be physically pulled out of the potato and into water before you ever cook it. If you know how to do this, and if you take the time to do it properly, you can turn the potato from a forbidden food into a moderate food that many stage 3 kidney patients can eat again, always with the approval of their own nephrologist. The technique is called leaching. It sounds fancy, but it is nothing more than soaking, and I am going to walk you through it slowly, the way the dietitian who taught it to me walked me through it the first time I saw it done in a real kitchen. Step 1. Take 2 small potatoes, any variety, russet, red, gold, whichever you have. Wash them and peel them completely. The skin is where a lot of the potassium sits, so for kidney purposes, the skin comes off. This is one of the very rare times in nutrition where taking the skin off is the smarter choice. Step 2. Cut the potatoes into thin slices, about 3 millimeters thick, which is a little thinner than a stack of 2 quarters. The thinner you slice them, the more surface area is exposed to the water in the next step, and the more potassium the water can pull out. Thickness matters here. Do not shortcut this. Step 3. Put the slices in a large bowl. Cover them completely in warm water, not hot, not cold, warm like a bath. Let them sit in that warm water for at least 4 hours, and longer is better. Overnight in the refrigerator is fine. Somewhere around the 2-hour mark, drain the water off, refill with fresh warm water, and let them sit again. That water change is important, because the first water becomes saturated with potassium and stops pulling more out. Step 4. When you are ready to cook them, drain them one more time, rinse them under fresh water, and then cook them in a fresh pot of water water with no salt. When it is done correctly, leaching removes somewhere between 30 and 50% of the potassium from the potato. That is not a small change. It is enough to move a potato from the high potassium column into the moderate column, which is a totally different food from your kidney's point of view. I want you to hear me clearly on the honest part of this. Leaching does not remove all of the potassium. It does not give you a free pass to eat unlimited potatoes. And if you are in advanced kidney disease with a potassium level that has ever been flagged as too high, you have to talk to your kidney doctor before you add even leached potatoes back to your plate. But for many people in early stage 3, this technique brings a food they love back to the table in a safe and moderate way, and that emotional victory should not be underestimated. The plate is not just fuel, the plate is dignity. Here's how I want the final dish to look on your plate. After leaching and cooking, take the potato slices, mash them lightly with a fork, drizzle a small amount of good olive oil over them, add a pinch of fresh rosemary from a windowsill pot, and finish with a small squeeze of fresh lemon juice. No salt. The lemon and the rosemary and the olive oil do all the work the salt used to do, and they do it better. Half a cup on your plate. That is your portion. 2 mistakes to avoid, and I want you to hear these carefully. First mistake. Do not try to shortcut leaching with a microwave. Microwaving cooks the potato, but it does not pull potassium out. Only water can do that. The thin slice and the long soak are the actual tools here, not the heat. If you microwave a whole potato and eat it, you have eaten a full potassium load, no matter how good your intention was. Second mistake. Do not swap to sweet potatoes thinking they are automatically healthier. Sweet potatoes are wonderful for many people, but a medium sweet potato carries more than 500 milligrams of potassium, and the same leaching technique applies if you want to include them in a kidney-friendly meal. The general public health message that sweet potatoes are always the better choice is true for people with healthy kidneys, and it is not the same conversation for you. A kidney-friendly diet and a general healthy diet are two related but different disciplines. Mixing them up is where careful people get into trouble. I want to stop for a moment right here and ask you something, because we have reached the middle of this video, and you have just learned the single most powerful piece of information I have to share tonight. Before we continue, if any part of this is helping you, would you let me know your age in the comments below? And if you know your latest creatinine number or your latest GFR, share that too. I read those numbers personally, and they guide the next videos I make for this channel. A quick tap on the like button also helps the YouTube algorithm share this with more people over 60 who are scared right now by lab numbers that no one is explaining to them. There is a whole quiet community of people over 60 in exactly your situation who need to see this, and one tap from you helps YouTube find them. Now let us continue, because the last 2 snacks are the ones almost nobody ever connects to kidney health, and they are the ones that keep the whole system working. Snack number 4 is cauliflower, and cauliflower is the quiet workhorse of the kidney-friendly kitchen. It carries only about 150 milligrams of potassium in half a cup, which is 1/3 of what a banana gives you. It is low in phosphorus, which we already talked about. It is naturally very low in sodium, which matters more than most people realize because after 60, the average American is still consuming almost twice as much sodium every day as their kidneys can comfortably handle. And cauliflower is a good source of vitamin C and folate, 2 vitamins that kidney patients tend to run low on because the same medications that protect your kidneys can also flush some of these water-soluble vitamins out. But the real reason cauliflower earns its place on this list is something almost nobody talks about outside of research journals. Cauliflower belongs to a family of vegetables called cruciferous vegetables, along with broccoli and Brussels sprouts and cabbage. And this whole family carries a compound called indole-3-carbinol, which your body converts into another compound called diindolylmethane, or DIM for short. That is a mouthful, so let me put it in plain English. These compounds appear to calm one of the specific inflammation pathways in the body called the NF-kappa B pathway, and chronic low-grade inflammation along that pathway is one of the reasons creatinine keeps drifting upward in people who otherwise feel perfectly fine. Their doctors run test after test looking for a reason, and the reason is quietly sitting inside every meal, in the form of ongoing background inflammation that is scratching the filters day after day. I need to be honest with you here. The direct research on cauliflower and kidney function in humans is still in early stages. I am not standing here telling you that cauliflower alone brings your creatinine down. I am telling you that reducing this chronic inflammation is one of the fundamental strategies for slowing kidney disease, and that is a statement the National Institute of Diabetes and Digestive and Kidney Diseases has published in their own patient education materials. Cauliflower is one of the easiest and cheapest tools you have for that job. Here is the preparation I want you to try, because it is the one that has converted more skeptical patients than than any other. It is called kidney rice, and it is exactly what it sounds like. Take 1 head of cauliflower and cut it into small florets. Put the florets into a food processor and pulse them. Do not blend them, pulse them until they look like small grains of rice. If you do not have a food processor, you can grate the florets on the large side of a box grater. Now put your cauliflower rice into a microwave safe bowl, cover it lightly, and cook it in the microwave for 2 to 3 minutes with no water added. The moisture inside the cauliflower is enough to cook it perfectly. When it comes out, add a spoonful of olive oil, a squeeze of fresh lemon juice, and any fresh herbs you like. Parsley works, cilantro works, fresh dill is beautiful with it. What you have now is a warm side dish that eats like a grain, that carries almost no potassium, that is loaded with anti-inflammatory compounds, and that has cost you about 75 cents and 8 minutes of your time. If you do not want kidney rice, take the whole florets, toss them with a small amount of olive oil and a pinch of garlic powder, and roast them at 400 degrees Fahrenheit until the tips are golden brown. That is a snack you can eat by the handful. It is my personal favorite. The mistake to avoid with cauliflower is buying it frozen in a cheese sauce. That box in the freezer section that says cauliflower with cheddar or cauliflower au gratin is a completely different food from the point of view of your kidneys. It is loaded with sodium, it is loaded with added phosphate salts used as preservatives, and those phosphate salts are absorbed by your body far more aggressively than the natural phosphorus found in whole foods. That difference alone can undo a whole day of careful eating. Buy your cauliflower fresh, or buy it plain frozen with no sauce, and prepare it yourself. It is not fancy, it is not expensive, it is just quiet and clean, and your kidneys will thank you for it. Snack number 5 is the one that is going to surprise you the most, and that is the macadamia nut. Now I know what you're about to say. You're about to say, wait, my kidney nutritionist told me to avoid all nuts, and you are half right, and this is where I have to explain why the old blanket rule about avoiding all nuts is becoming outdated in the more recent kidney nutrition literature. Most nuts are indeed problematic for kidney patients. A 1 ounce serving of almonds carries about 200 milligrams of potassium and 136 milligrams of phosphorus. Cashews and Brazil nuts are even higher. If you have advanced kidney disease and you sit down with a bag of almonds in front of the television, you can put a real strain on your system without meaning to. That is where the old rule came from, and it was not wrong for its time. But macadamia nuts are in a completely different category, and this is not widely taught. 1 ounce of macadamia nuts, which is about 10 to 12 individual nuts, carries only about 104 milligrams of potassium and 53 milligrams of phosphorus. That is roughly half the potassium of almonds and less than half the phosphorus, and in exchange for that lower mineral load, macadamias give you a very high proportion of monounsaturated fat, the same kind of fat that makes extra virgin olive oil so protective for the heart and the arteries. And here is where I want to make an emotional connection that most kidney patients have never had made for them clearly. Kidney disease and heart disease travel together as a pair. They are not two separate problems, they are one problem in two organs. The American Heart Association and the National Institute of Diabetes and Digestive and Kidney Diseases both published that a person with chronic kidney disease is actually more likely to die from a cardiovascular event, a heart attack, or a stroke than from full kidney failure itself. Read that sentence again and let it sink in, because it changes everything about how you should think about your food choices. Every time you take care of your blood vessels, you are also taking care of your kidneys, because your kidneys are fed by blood vessels. Healthy vessels mean healthy flow into the filters. Damaged vessels mean starved and struggling filters. That is why the macadamia nut, which protects the arteries with its clean monounsaturated fat, deserves a place on this list right next to the leached potato and the egg white. Here is how I want you to eat them. 10 to 12 macadamia nuts, 1 small handful, either raw and unsalted or dry roasted with no oil and no salt. Never the caramelized ones, never the chocolate covered ones, never the ones with maple glaze or honey coating from the airport gift shop. Those are dessert wearing a mask. You want the plain nut. My favorite way to eat them, and the way I recommend to most families, is to combine 10 macadamias with 4 or 5 of the red grapes we talked about at the very beginning. That combination gives you the resveratrol from the grape, the monounsaturated fat from the nut, a slow steady rise in blood sugar because of the fat, and a portion size that is naturally self-limiting. You cannot really overeat this snack because it fills you up before you get to a dangerous amount of anything. That is elegant nutrition. That is what a good kidney-friendly snack should look like. One small warning that people find amusing, but that saves veterinary bills. Macadamia nuts are toxic to dogs. If you have a dog in the house, keep the container closed and out of reach. It will not hurt you, but it will make your dog very sick if they steal a few off the coffee table. I mention it because a member of my family learned that the expensive way. Now I want to slow down and tell you about someone. I want to tell you about a man I will call Robert. Robert is not one specific patient. He is a composite of several men I have met and read about over the years, but every detail detail in his story could belong to any one of them. Robert is 69 years old, retired, worked as a mechanic on diesel engines for more than 40 years, married to the same woman for 46 of them. Robert had high blood pressure for 25 years and type 2 diabetes for 18. He took his medications every morning like a good soldier, and he trusted his doctor, and every year he went in for his physical and his blood work. 2 years ago, the blood work came back with a creatinine of 1.7, and his doctor said the word stage 3 chronic kidney disease for the first time. Robert did not feel sick. That was the part that made him angry. His arms were still strong from a lifetime of work. His mind was clear, his appetite was normal, but he was getting up 3 times every single night to walk to the bathroom, and he had stopped taking long drives to visit his grandchildren in the next state because he could not go more than an hour without needing to stop. He had lost part of his independence, and he had not even connected it to his kidneys until his doctor said it out loud. He walked out of that appointment with another prescription, a stronger blood pressure pill, and no conversation about his kitchen. 0 conversation. 12 minutes, another prescription, and the same instruction to eat healthier that his doctor had been giving him for 20 years without ever specifying what healthier meant for a man in his situation. That is when he found a video like this one, and he and his wife made a decision that night. They made a decision to try. His wife wrote out the 5 snacks on an index card and taped it inside the pantry door. She replaced the box of vanilla wafers that used to sit next to the coffee maker with a small bowl of red grapes and a container of dry roasted macadamia nuts. She learned how to leach potatoes and made kidney rice from cauliflower once a week on Sunday nights. Robert started eating 3 or 4 scrambled egg whites for breakfast instead of the sausage patty. They cut out the ham lunch meat completely and switched to unsalted turkey breast. They stopped putting the salt shaker on the table, and after 2 weeks, neither one of them missed it. 6 months later, Robert went back for his blood work. Let me choose my words very carefully here, because I do not want to promise you anything I cannot deliver. His creatinine did not go back to normal. It did not undo the years of damage that were already there. What it did do was stop climbing. It held steady at 1.7, exactly where it had been 6 months earlier. His blood pressure improved enough that his doctor was able to reduce, not eliminate, one of his medications. His night trips to the bathroom dropped from 3 to 1, and he started driving to see his grandchildren again on Sunday afternoons. When Robert told me about it, the thing he emphasized was not the lab report. The thing he emphasized was that he felt like a participant in his own care for the first time in decades, instead of a spectator watching his own decline. That is a shift that money cannot buy and no pill can prescribe. That is the shift I want for you. And now let me be equally honest about the opposite story, because I owe you both sides. There are people who watch a video like this one and they nod along and they think to themselves, I will start next Monday. And Monday comes and something happens, and next Monday comes and something happens, and then a year passes and they go in for their annual physical and the creatinine is now 2.1 instead of 1.7, and the doctor uses the word stage 4 for the first time, and now some of the treatment options they had a year ago are no longer available to them. The tragic thing is not that they did not have the willpower. The tragic thing is not that they could not afford the food. Red grapes and cauliflower and egg whites and potatoes and macadamia nuts are all inexpensive foods, and they are all sitting in the grocery store where you already shop. The tragic thing is that they did not make one single change this week while the idea was still fresh in their head. Motivation has a very short shelf life. If you do not act on it inside of 7 days, the kitchen goes back to looking exactly the way it looked before you watched this video. So let me tie all of it together for you now before we close, because there is one final thread that runs through everything I have told you tonight, and I want you to see it clearly. Every single one of these 5 snacks does one thing in common. They reduce the amount of work your kidneys have to do. The egg whites deliver protein that leaves behind almost no waste. The red grapes and the cauliflower calm the background inflammation that keeps scratching the filters. The macadamia nuts protect the blood vessels that feed the kidneys their oxygen and their nutrition. And every one of the preparation techniques I taught you, the leaching, the cooking without salt, the choice of whole fruit instead of juice, exists to keep potassium and phosphorus and sodium from piling up inside a system that can no longer sweep them out efficiently. And that changes how you read your own lab report from now on. Your creatinine number is not just a verdict on damage already done. Your creatinine number is also a photograph of how hard your kidneys are working today. And that second part, the daily work, has your fingerprints on it 3 times a day, every day, for the rest of your life. You did not develop kidney disease because you were careless. You developed it because of decades of high blood pressure, decades of high blood sugar, decades of blood vessels quietly aging with the rest of you. That part of the story is written already. But the load your kidneys carry tomorrow, that part is still being written and the pen is still in your hand. No prescription needed, no copay required, no permission asked. Here's what I want you to do tonight before you go to bed, while the idea is still warm inside your head. Make a shopping list right now on a piece of paper. Choose one of the 5 snacks, not all 5, just one, to start with this week. Trying to change everything at once is how people give up in 3 days. Trying to change one thing is how people succeed for the rest of their lives. Pick the one snack that sounds the easiest to you and put those ingredients on your list. Learn how to leach potatoes this week if the potato is the one that spoke to you the most. Take the salt shaker off the table tonight and put it inside a cupboard where you have to make an active decision to bring it out. Start reading labels at the grocery store with your reading glasses on and specifically look for the milligrams of sodium and for the word phosphate hidden in the ingredient list. Anything with the word phosphate in it goes back on the shelf. And most importantly, keep every single appointment you have with your nephrologist and your primary care doctor. Know your own numbers. Ask for a copy of your blood work every single time. Bring these ideas to that appointment and let your kidney doctor build the personalized version of this plan that fits your exact stage and your exact history. Now I owe you one more serious word before we close, and I need you to sit with it for a moment. If your kidney doctor has already told you that you're in stage 4 or stage 5 kidney disease, or if your last lab showed a potassium level that was flagged as high, please do not change your diet based only on